Yo, what is up, everybody? It is Hater Radio, a media brand dedicated to college football. My name is Chris McLean. I'm without Ian Gibson again. The Threshers actually won a playoff game. I don't know what it's going on. I don't know how minor league baseball works, but they had a game tonight because they won yesterday, and that I think the season is done in the next couple of days. So he'll be with us pretty much every Wednesday going forward. And then I didn't realize because I'm still new to this software, but we'll make it so that we probably record the shows earlier on Sundays because he has commitments on Sunday night. So hopefully we can get the show done on Sunday and then air it. It'll air live so that people can catch it that way because it seems to be getting a lot of people airing it live, so people watch it that way. It obviously is getting a lot of views on YouTube, which I appreciate. The advertising through Google and YouTube has worked tremendously, and I'm definitely going to continue doing that throughout the year. Subscribers are up, followers are up on all the platforms, so we're doing really well there. And articles have done really well. The article we had on Friday for talking about the Florida and Billy Napier's tenure and where it was going. It worked really well. I advertised for that one. So I'm really happy with how things are going. I'm spending money on it, but it seems to be working because it's almost doubling the article views, at least a minimum doubling them, maybe even triple some of them. And then also with the views on YouTube is going through the roof. So I'm really happy about that. But what we do here, I was talking with a Georgia fan just a second ago. Look, man, I may talk shit, but I try to back it up with my knowledge base and Ian's knowledge base as well. We try to be as objective with our views and our analysis as much as possible with what we do. I know obviously I'm a fan of Florida. I am a fan of USF. I graduated from USF. My dad went to Florida. I had a bunch of family that went to Florida, and I'm now covering USC and UCLA, but it's, and because I live out in LA, but it's essentially what I'm trying to do is be as objective as possible with acknowledging the bias that is inherent instead of most media people try to be, shy away from their allegiances and don't make it be known with why some things they say are the way they are. I try to be as objective as possible, and I know some of my biases come in the way, but at least putting it at the forefront instead of not acknowledging and not saying that it is part of what of the decision making or why I say things that I say. Regardless, let's talk about this week. Actually, real quick, I just wanted to mention before anything, I am wearing my Sunshine City shirt for St. Pete that I got when I was there in June. I'm from St. Pete, and I have to acknowledge about the stadium. It's a huge day. I wrote a huge 40-page paper in law school about the stadium fight, and just tremendous day for the city, for Pinellas County, for the Tampa Bay area. I'm glad that the team will be there for another generation. We'll start to see more people that are living in St. Pete and the Tampa Bay area be more supportive of the team. It'll build that loyal fan base to where, you'll start to see more sellouts, not per se, but maybe even getting like 20,000, 22,000 a night. If they average that, I don't even, I've seen so much things on Twitter recently where it's almost to the point where it doesn't even necessarily matter with attendance. It almost matters more with the TV sponsorships and advertising and the TV deals that they have, that more money comes in that way than necessarily from ticketing. So yes, it is a problem, but at the same time, they're still making money in other avenues. And with what happened, the Rays had especially Steve Sternberg, the owners, had 50% of the redevelopment rights. So that was a main reason why they stayed in St. Pete. It was the main reason. There was no other reason. Like, they were not moving anywhere. One, the media market is as large as it was, being around the 12th largest media market in the country, that they're not leaving that market. And then two, there was so much money in the redevelopment of that Trop site, 86 acres, that they would cash in on 50% of, so that there was no reason they were going to ever leave. If they left and built the stadium somewhere else, they were not going to get part of that redevelopment right. So large reason why they stayed, large reason why the city has a team. And you can owe that to the city council members in the 80s that built the Trop. They put that in the contract, and it largely is the reason why we will have the team for the next generation. And it could end up being the reason that the Rays stay forever at this point. I mean, once they get into two generations being in a site, there's honestly no reason why they won't be a major part of the area for years, centuries, if it exists. All right, so moving on to college football. Week 4, huge games, a lot of huge games. I mean, this is, they've been talking about it for 2 weeks, how big of a week this is going to be, because they really ignored last week because of, there was very few games that were standouts. So there were some that did. The Colorado State game obviously was a standout game, and I enjoyed that game. Colorado State was obviously the better team, but Colorado pulled it off here. But with that being said, let's start off with the biggest game of the 4 teams that we cover. We're going to cover the UCLA-Utah game. Dante Moore has just been lights out. I mean, for a freshman, 18 years old, coming in to take the helm of basically the first game and just not look back. I mean, he throws dimes all over the place. He's got a great command of the offense, just a phenomenal athlete, a great passer. He is living up to the billing and maybe even more. I mean, as a freshman, this kid has the potential to basically be Caleb Williams at this point. And, it's early, obviously, but I can see that because I think he is probably done better than Caleb Williams did his freshman year. I haven't looked at the stats specifically, but, the comparison is there. They're similar sized guys, similar sized arms, obviously teams in the same city, so you can naturally make that comparison. But, just the fact that they play so smoothly as quarterbacks. And I think Caleb may be more elusive. That's maybe some of his artistry with the similarities to like Patrick Mahomes. But definitely Dante is becoming someone that is very effective. His accuracy is very high, and, just making all kinds of plays. This game is huge for them because, Utah is definitely a potential Pac-12 champion this year. They're the repeat champions the last 2 years. So this is definitely a daunting task for UCLA, especially going to Salt Lake City. This is not going to be easy. UCLA has stayed in California the last 4 weeks and not having to leave essentially the area too much. They went down to San Diego 2 weeks ago, and this chance for them to really let the nation know that their defense is for real. Dante Moore is for real. Carson Steele. I mean, this is a kid no one's talking about as far as a stud running back. I know Cole Kubelik talked about it today because I tweeted out to him talking about the run game, and it isn't a great run game. I'm not going to lie. This UCLA offense is a machine right now, and the defense is not that far off either. The defensive coordinator, Lynn, has done a tremendous job. Very young guy, but came in and has really changed the outlook of how this defense is going. It is almost night and day from what they were last year. If they can continue this progress into a game like Utah and hold them in check, that'll be immense. As far as Utah, I saw them 3 weeks ago when I was there for the Florida-Utah game. They didn't wow me as far as offensively. They made enough plays to win that game. largely to do with Florida's mistakes more so than Utah countering anything. I think the one strong suit that Utah had in that game that can help them going forward this season and into this game as well is their defense is strong. There were a few guys that were out that game. Most of those guys, I believe, are back now. And, the defense is the strong suit of this team. Also, caveat, it seems like the possibility of Cam Rising playing this game is extremely high. There's not been a definitive answer yet. I know that the coach, Whittingham, has been back and forth and kind of disguising if he's going to play and not really saying one way or the other. I don't know what he's going to go with. As of right now, it seems like they are not going to go with Cam just because of, it seems like Cam is still nursing that knee and trying to come back from that full strength. And you don't want to put him out there and then something bad happens. But this is a huge game, and they want to win the Pac-12. This would be a huge win in that step forward towards getting towards the Pac-12 championship game. And if they lose this game, it would put them in a remarkable, it would prevent them. It would be a huge hindrance towards getting that goal. So if he's going to play, we'll probably come to game time, and we may not know. I think he's going to play. I think they're playing games right now, but I really think Cam Rising is going to play. And if he plays, they should have a chance in this game. But I just really like UCLA. I mean, I've been a fan all year. Obviously, I've been following this team the last couple of years since moving here. And, Chip Kelly has done a tremendous job with UCLA. I really like UCLA in this game. I'm going to go with UCLA winning, I'd say probably 41 to probably 27. I think UCLA may score a late one to really push the score there. But regardless, I think UCLA has control of the game throughout most of the game. Ian has it at 35-24, so he's not that far off. I just think that UCLA is the better team in this case. Okay, moving on. Charlotte, Florida. This is going to be relatively easy one for Florida. There's a lot of guys out for Florida offensive line-wise because of those suspensions in the Tennessee game where there was that brawl or just a little scuffles near the end of that game. But some of those guys are only sitting the first half. Also, Kingsley Eguakon is out the whole game, probably resting up for the Kentucky game, which is smart. You don't want to push him right now because he's still recovering from his injury. So they may not be able to run the ball as effective in that first half. So you may see them try to throw the ball a lot. Eugene Wilson is not going to play. Trey is out, and he may be out for at least the Kentucky game into maybe other games. We'll see. I don't know. As of right now, he got the x-rays were negative for his collarbone. So he is just, I guess, resting until he can come back to full health. So we'll see what happens there. But, I think in this game, they should pass the ball more just in general, just to get some things going for receivers and timing, especially with Ricky and probably Douglas and also Jackson. If those guys can get in the game a little more involved, that would be nice. And it looks like Boardingham is now on one of the starting tight ends as well. So maybe he gets more involved in the passing game. It'd be interesting to see with him. He's pretty athletic. He did have a catch in that game against Tennessee, so we'll see. I'm going to go with Florida probably wins 44 to I'm guessing 14, something like that. And Ian's got it 38-7. Okay, so next one is the USF game. USF Rice. I don't know how good this Rice team is because they had a decent win, I think, last week against Houston. And then they also were not terrible against Texas. I mean, Texas ended up pulling away, but Rice didn't look bad. They just were obviously outmatched talent-wise because Texas has got talent all over the team. JT Daniels is still there, 10 years later, but he's commanding the offense, and he's not, for Rice, his level of quarterback play is something that they haven't seen, and I don't even remember when. I've never seen Rice actually be competitive in my entire history of watching college football. So I'm going to say USF has a good chance here, especially coming off a game where they were so strong against Alabama. I say Byron Brown has a really good game. I say Naquan Wright has a good game. Maybe Sean Atkins comes through with a bunch of big catches. I think the defense continues to progress. The USF played a very proficient offense in Western Kentucky and a proficient offense in FAMU, and then played one of the most talented teams in the country in Alabama in the first 3 games. So now they get a chance to actually play against some teams that are not as good to help out with some of those stats wise, because it really is skewed one way that they're playing really good offenses there. I mean, I know Alabama's offense is kind of whatever, but at least they have a lot of talent on their team, regardless of how good the offense is. So it's been kind of tough for the defense to put up, say, stats that are in 70th rank or 60th rank in the nation, which I think they have the potential to do because they've looked really good considering the opposition they've gone up against. I like USF in this game. I'm going to say USF wins probably 31 to 24 in a somewhat close game, but USF gets the win. It's in Tampa. Let's go, everybody. Let's see if we can get that win. Especially it'll be the first FBS win in I don't know how long. And people have been holding over our heads for years, and I'm tired of it. Let's get this FBS win, please. No, Ian has USF winning. Well, actually, I can't tell because he mixed up the – oh, no, he does have USF. He has USF winning 27-22, so we both have USF there as well. So nice. Last one of the teams we cover before we get in the rest, USC, Arizona State. Jaden Rashada is not playing in this game, so I don't really like Arizona State's chances of even doing anything remarkable at all. I think USC is going to dominate this game. I think USC is going to score probably at least 49 points, maybe even 56 points, and I don't see much at all for Arizona State. This is going to be a blowout. I think USC wins I'm going to say 56 to 10. It's going to be bad. It's going to be ugly. I mean, USC is that good. As of right now, this schedule for USC has not done them any favors as far as the notoriety behind the team. So they're kind of sleepwalking through the schedule right now. And I've talked about that, how they've been fortunate because they've played these bad teams that they've been able to play younger guys and get more playing time. So that next week when they play Colorado and after that when they play Notre Dame and they play UCLA and they play Utah and they play Washington, they'll be ready. And it's kind of been almost like a preseason for them, like the NFL preseason, to be able to work these games to get everyone ready. And I think that's honestly going to work in their favor. And you could see them really taking off when they play that Colorado team next week. And I honestly think that they're going to smoke Colorado. So I'm going to have USC winning this one. Like I said, 56 to 10. Ian's got it 41-20 USC. So we'll see. All right, moving on to the rest of the games. There's still a ton of good games. I'm excited for y'all because this is a very good week of college football. So please enjoy this. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, I got first one, Rutgers, Michigan. I put it on there because Schiano has been there a couple years now, back in New Jersey with Rutgers, and I think he might be able to make some headway. But this team is a lot better than most of the other Big Ten teams, that being Michigan. So I'm going to say Michigan ends up winning. I'm going to say probably 45 to like 17. I don't really like Rutgers as far as, a very like a magnanimous. I'm not saying magnanimous. Yeah, magnanimous offense. They're not very like potent, but they'll be able to move the ball enough. They just won't be able to score a ton. And Michigan will probably be a get right game because they really haven't really shown a ton in some of these games. The first 3 games were like Bowling Green and some other terrible teams. So they really haven't had to play anybody yet. I mean, this is their first Big Ten game, so we'll see how they actually play. But again, I'm not the biggest fan of the Big Ten anyways. I've always talked about how bad their competition is, with Rutgers, Maryland, Northwestern, Illinois, Indiana. There's a lot of terrible teams in the Big Ten that really conflate these records for all these higher level teams, like Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan that just beat up on these terrible teams. So it looks like they're amazing teams because they have these great records, but they really are just eating on tomato cans, like I always say. But I will say Ohio State does have talent on par with the better teams in college football, like Alabama, Georgia, and Clemson and USC. I definitely think that. I'm not denying that. I just think they don't get to the level of play per se, and so that may hurt them in the long run because they don't play tougher teams. Yes, Michigan has beaten Ohio State as well, but Michigan has also looked somewhat terrible in these playoff games the last 2 years. Definitely that Georgia game 2 years ago, and last year against TCU. I mean, they were fortunate to be in that game at the end, but realistically, TCU was taking it to them, and I think Michigan was lucky to be in that game, and which is, even more so because then TCU got smoked by Georgia the week later. So it shows how far Michigan still has to come. I know it's very tough to say that because then you're like thinking, okay, well, Ohio State lost to them, but it's like, I don't know what it is. Maybe just Michigan has their number right now. It's only been two years in a row. I'd like to see what happens this year. I think Ohio State is probably refocusing on that game more so than any other game, and I think they could probably take it this year if given the chance. But a lot of season to be played going forward, so we'll have to see what plays out. Okay, Ian has it as 28-10 Michigan. I don't think it's going to be that close. Okay, the noon big game for the day is the FSU Clemson game. It's in Death Valley. I've been, saying all off season and into the season that, Florida State would lose at least one game. And I thought maybe even 2 games in September. And specifically, I was noting the LSU game and the Clemson game. They almost lost to BC, which would have been a surprise for everyone, but they didn't. They held on by the skin of their teeth. Clemson, on the other hand, struggled and lost against Duke in the first game of the year. So Clemson looks like they've rebounded a little bit. They've played better defense, and the offense seems to be more cohesive, more of a threat to score more points. They really struggled to convert those red zone opportunities in that game against Duke, and fumbles that led to Duke possessions that should have been technically Clemson touchdowns, or at least field goals, and I think they had a field goal blocked as well. So Clemson should have been in that game against Duke, much like LSU shot themselves in the foot against Florida State as well. And I really believe LSU should have been up in that game. Probably should have been up 31-17 going into half against Florida State, and it would have been a completely different game if that was the case. But Florida State ends up winning that game, barely beating BC, and here we are. I think their defense is suspect, to say the least. They're ranked in the hundreds in some categories, not looking good, especially when you're coming up against a team like Clemson, who's defensively strong and can hold Jordan Travis and the rest of the Seminoles in check, which I think is possible. I'm going to say that Florida State probably only scores like 20 points, maybe 22 points in this game. And I'm going to say Clemson scores like 28-30. So I'm going to go with like 30-22. That's my final score. Ian has it as FSU winning 28-21. So we're very similar scores. It's obviously going to be a tight game, but I feel like Clemson's going to win this. So that's our differing opinion there. Okay, Oklahoma, Cincinnati. Interesting game. I like Cincinnati as far as, being a new member of the Big 12 and probably being really pumped for this because this is a huge moment for them. But it's a big letdown because of last week losing to Ohio. I mean, I think I think it was Miami of Ohio. I'm not exactly sure. I know they lost last week. I can't remember who. But regardless, they lost last week, and so it's a huge letdown coming into this game. I really think Oklahoma's going to probably smoke them. I think Oklahoma's going to win like 42-17. I'm not sold on their coach, the one that came from Louisville. He's an okay coach. He never really performed that well at Louisville. They had chances. They just kind of were whatever there the last couple of years. But I think Oklahoma is scoring at will right now. They played a lot of terrible teams. I mean, Tulsa is definitely a better team than some of the other teams they played, and they smoked them completely. But I think Oklahoma is going to win, like I said, 42-17. Ian's got it. 45-17. So we were close there. Okay, huge game in SEC-wise. This game would set up a huge matchup next week with Auburn and Georgia. But let's see. It's Auburn, Texas A&M in College Station. I feel like Auburn can win this game. Texas A&M is a little wounded after the loss against Miami. It could be the beginning of the end for Jimbo, maybe. I mean, last year was terrible at 5-7. Do they go 6-6 this year, and does he survive? I would be hard pressed to say that he survives going 6-6 this year, especially considering that Alabama seems to be weaker than they are in years past, and LSU already has a loss as well. I don't know. Texas A&M, I'm not a believer in, and won't be until they beat someone worthwhile. And I don't even really think Auburn is that tough of an opponent as well. I think Auburn can get this game just because I think that Texas A&M, I don't know. I'm not a believer in Texas A&M. Not that I'm a believer in Auburn either, but I think I am a believer in Hugh Freeze, though. Now, I'm not a believer maybe of this iteration of his team, but going forward, I think he's got things working for him recruiting-wise, and he's obviously proved he's one of the smarter offensive minds in all of college football. So I think Auburn wins this game. I'm going to say Auburn wins 27-23. Ian's got it at 30-27 A&M. So it's going to be close regardless. Okay. Next couple of ones. Kentucky, Vanderbilt. I'm just going to do this one real quick. I like Dennis Leary. Not Dennis Leary. Devin Leary. Sorry. Dennis Leary. That's a comedian. Devin Leary. I like him a lot. I liked him at NC State. He played well enough to put them in a position to beat Florida State last year. And Vanderbilt has looked decent this year. They beat Hawaii, and they look definitely better. Last year they've been moving in the right direction. They beat Kentucky last year with Will Levis. Can they beat Kentucky again? It's in Nashville. I don't think they can. I think Kentucky gets this one because I like Leary more. I think he does enough to get the win for them. So I'm going to say Kentucky wins 21-17, low scoring game. I don't really like either of these teams scoring a ton of points in this game. Ian says 20-14 Kentucky, so similar. So very similar. Okay, next couple of games, SMU, TCU. This one's whatever. SMU moving into the ACC next year. TCU was the runner-up in the championship game, kind of been whatever so far this year, especially after that loss to Colorado. I'd say TCU wins this one. I haven't seen much out of SMU so far this year. I'm going to say TCU wins probably 34 to 24. And Ian's got it. TCU winning 41-37. It could go more high scoring, and it might. I just think both of these teams probably struggle here a little bit, but Ian might be more right. I may be wrong on that one because both of those defenses are suspect, especially TCU's giving up that many points they gave to Colorado. Okay, big one, Ole Miss, Alabama. Ole Miss really has an opportunity here to take advantage of a weakened Alabama after their loss to Texas and their subpar play against USF last week. I think that Ole Miss will probably perform really well in this game. If Jalen Milroe is the starter, I think they can put up points, though, for Alabama. And I think it's probably a back-and-forth game that ends up like a 38-34, and I'm going to go with Alabama. I haven't seen Lane beat, Saban yet, and I'm not a believer until I see it. So, Bama 38-34. Ian's got it. Ole Miss winning 31-30. So we're close. It's going to be a close game. I just think Bama's got him. It's in Tuscaloosa, and just Lane hasn't proved it yet. It would be remarkable if he did, and I would feel good for him as far as getting over that hump. He's still a jerk in some ways, especially when he was at Tennessee. God, he was a jerk to Florida. But moving on, this is one of the games that I want to highlight because it's huge for the Pac-12 besides the UCLA Utah game, but and obviously the notoriety that Coach Prime has gotten in Boulder. But Colorado, Oregon, it's in Eugene. I'm just going to say this flat out. I don't have too much analysis on this, and I'm just going to say it. I could give a lot of analysis, but I just want to say it and be quick with it. I think Oregon's going to win. I think Oregon's going to win big. I don't think Colorado has played a team like this as far as overall team, coaching-wise, everything. Dan Lanning's a good coach. Bo Nix has done remarkably well this year and last. The offense is humming for Oregon, and the defense is strong. I think they put up 44 points, and I'm saying Colorado puts up 20. So 44-20. Ian's got it at Oregon winning 35-29. He thinks it's closer. I don't think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a blowout. That's just what I feel. Okay. BYU, Kansas. Just an interesting game because I thought of, Kansas has been kind of, elevated the last year or so, especially with Daniels, their quarterback. And BYU is on a hot start right now, and they've got Keaton Slovis. And I have been a big fan of Slovis throughout the years. I didn't talk too much about him last week when we were previewing the Arkansas game, but they beat Arkansas last week and now have a chance to beat a good Kansas team. This is their first Big 12 game, so we'll see what happens here. I think BYU can win this one. I think overall they're probably a better team than Kansas. And I think BYU wins probably 31-20. And Ian's got it 31-27 for BYU. So there you go. Okay. UTSA, Tennessee. This is Ian's team, the Roadrunners. So can Tennessee recover from that loss against Florida? I think they can. I think UTSA is going to move the ball. I think they're going to score enough points to really scare Tennessee. And I don't think Tennessee fans are really aware of how good UTSA's offense is. I think they're going to be kind of tight buttholes come Saturday. It's gonna get tight into the fourth quarter. I still think Tennessee's going to win because UTSA's defense is not that remarkable, but Milton will probably get back on track here. I'm going to say Tennessee probably wins like 38 to probably 30. And then Ian's got it 38-20. He thinks Tennessee's going to smoke them. I don't think so. I think UTSA is going to be able to move the ball, and that's just what I have a feeling. And I'm surprised Ian doesn't have more points for UTSA there. Okay, moving on. Texas Baylor. Interesting game. Baylor already has 2 losses to Texas State and Utah. Texas undefeated, beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Can they continue the winning ways, especially with their opener in Big 12 play? I think they can. I think Texas wins I'm going to say 32 to 20. Ian's got it as 35-14, so we're not far off. Okay, and that is the theme of the show. We usually are pretty similar in our picks here. Okay, the big game of the day, the game that I've been waiting for all season. This is, well, technically USC Notre Dame is the game I've been waiting for, but this game is up there as well. Ohio State, Notre Dame in South Bend. Huge game for both teams involved. I really think that Ohio State is going to put a scare, but I really like Notre Dame. I've been huge on Sam Hartman. I think that's been the difference all year, has been the difference that Notre Dame has ever seen. I don't think Notre Dame has ever had a quarterback like this in my lifetime. In my viewing of college football, I've never seen them have that level of quarterback play. And they finally have it. The rest of the team is solid. The running back, I can't remember his name, Arteme or it's his Assistme or whatever to say his name. He's a huge guy, 230, just fast guy, strong guy. He's putting up huge numbers. He had 175 yards last week. They're apt to perform well this year, and it's probably alarming for most people because it's finally to the point where it's not just a media creation where it's every year they hype them up, and they do. And I've always been on the media for hyping up Notre Dame, and it's always been they don't actually live up to that billing. This year they do. This is the team that is the strongest they have ever had, I think I've ever seen. They deserve to be there. I think they will beat Ohio State. I think they have a really good shot against USC coming up as well. Notre Dame is the team to look out for going forward this year. And I like Notre Dame in this game. I'm going to say Notre Dame. And regardless of how well Ohio State's offense has finally now been putting it together, Ohio State's defense is strong. And I will say that may be something to look for in this game, considering that Notre Dame's offense has been moving the ball so well. So maybe that might be the X factor there, because Ohio State with Knowles as the defensive coordinator has been so strong. I think that Notre Dame wins this one, though. I'm going to go with Notre Dame winning 28 and Ohio State 24. It's going to be close, real close. Maybe even Notre Dame scoring a late touchdown to take that lead and holding on at the end, making a stop. That's what I think. And then Ian's got it as Ohio State 27-23. Like I said, me and Ian think very similar along the same lines, a lot of score-wise. So it's not – it obviously is – it just seems like that's what it's going to set up. It's going to be a good game, and I'm excited for this one because it's – I don't think we've had a game like this yet, top 10 matchup in a home setting. We've had road settings, the LSU Florida State game. That didn't really live up to the billing. I think this one is going to. Okay, next game, Iowa, Penn State. I'm not really a huge believer in either of these teams. Less so Iowa. I think Penn State will probably be able to score a decent amount, probably in the 28 range. And I don't think Iowa's going to score that much at all. I think Iowa's going to score 14. So I'm saying 28-14. I don't love Penn State either, though. And I think they're in the long run going to have a couple of losses, especially to Ohio State and Michigan, and maybe even one somewhere else. But Ian's got it at 24-14, so we're close. UCF, Kansas State. UCF's big Big 12 matchup, their first game in the Big 12. congratulations. USF was poised to be into an invite like that at some point, but kind of last 6-7 years really fell off. And UCF took off. They kept up the mantle and were able to get the invite. I know that USF is not that far off, so I'm not really worried about it. Plus, with Alex Golesh as head coach for USF, I feel like they're in a good position for a long term, and it seems like he's going to stay there, which I hope he does, because he seems like he really likes it there, and he's putting forth a great effort to turn around USF. But talking about UCF here, this is a first real test for them all year. Boise State was kind of a whatever game, because Boise State is not the same team they were the last couple of years. They got smoked by Washington, and it was still even a close game. I mean, yes, granted, it was in Boise, so that probably was the reason why it was closer than it was. But no, I think UCF's going to get an eye-opener here. Kansas State lost last week by a 61-yard field goal at the last second. So I think Kansas State is ready to turn it around. They're poised to defend their title, their Big 12 title from last year. So I think they get this win easily. It's in Manhattan. I'm going to say Kansas State wins like 34-20. And Ian has it as K-State 30-20. So we're close. Again, always close. We just always are. I'm not even looking at them until I look back over after going down my list and then looking at his list. Okay, Oregon State, Washington State. The two Pac-12 teams left next year, the remnants, the leftovers of the Pac-12 going at it. I feel bad for both these guys. One of my good friends in LA is a Washington State grad, and it really sucks. It does, because Washington State has been a solid program over the years. They were in the Rose Bowl at least once. I know that one when they played Michigan, when Michigan won the title in '97 with Ryan Leaf. And it sucks to see them struggle so much. When Leach left before he passed, he had them playing teams pretty well, and they've kind of been lost here the last couple of years. Now, Ward for Washington State is a stud, and look out for him in the next year or two to really take off. But I don't know what's going to happen with this team and and Oregon State going forward. It really sucks for their situation going forward. I don't know what's going to happen. But regardless, they're going to play each other here. And they're both in the top 25 in this game. So I like Oregon State more so because I think team-wise they're a better team. Ward for Washington State poses a problem for them offensively or defensively. And I like Washington State being able to move the ball and keep pace. I think Oregon State wins this one. I'm going to say Oregon State wins 27-22, close one. And Ian's got it as 38-23 Oregon State. He thinks they're going to move the ball well. I don't love Oregon State's offense, but we'll see. Arkansas, LSU, big SEC game. I think Arkansas can bounce back in this game. It's probably a good position for them to be because yes, they have the loss to BYU, but it's a non-conference loss, so they still have a lot to play for. LSU has a non-conference loss as well, so this is actually potentially a really good matchup here for SEC footing going forward, especially after LSU smoked Mississippi State last week. I think LSU does win this game, but I think Arkansas puts a really good scare into them. I think LSU wins probably 31 to I'd say 25, something like that. And Ian's got it at 34-20. Not too far off. I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a really good game. I don't love Arkansas's defense, and I think that LSU is going to put up some points. And Neighbors is looking like just a freak out there, putting up huge numbers, especially last week. I think he put up the most yards ever for an LSU receiver, considering the level of NFL talent that has gone through there the last 10 years at LSU. That is remarkable. Okay, moving on. UNC Pitt. I don't know what to make of this Pitt team. I really don't. Their quarterback play is not amazing. They have decent talent on the rest of the team. But I like Drake May. I've liked Drake May all year. I'll continue to like Drake May every game he plays. I think UNC wins this game pretty handily. I'm going to say like UNC wins probably like 38 to probably 24. Ian's got it. UNC 27-14. I think Pitt will score more than that, but maybe their offense does suck with their quarterback play being as bad as it is, and maybe that will end up being that lower of a score. Last one, Cal Washington. Only reason I'm putting this one on there is because of my appreciation for Michael Penix Jr. and should be your appreciation for Michael Penix Jr. because he is a freak. The kid is left-handed. He throws dimes. I mean, it's just he has the best long ball out of anybody in college and probably most of the ones in the NFL. He is a freak, and he's not getting the attention that he deserves. He's put up huge numbers in every game he's played, destroyed Michigan State last week, 474 yards and I believe 4 touchdowns. Just a phenomenal player that nobody's talking about. We need to be talking about him. I am going to always shout out his praises because he is disgusting. And I think Washington wins this one big. I'm going to say like 44 to like 10. Ian's got it at 38-17. So there you go. Okay, last little bit we're going to do real quick. Ian's Heisman, he's got Jordan Travis somehow at 5, Jaden Daniels, Caleb at 3, Sam Hartman, and then Michael Penix. That's not a bad list. I like the top 3. Maybe not Jaden Daniels. Definitely not Jordan Travis. No way. I think I got Caleb number 1. I don't think anyone can take him off until unless he gets injured or fails, which I don't think is going to happen. Well, he could get injured. I'm not going to say that. But I don't think he's going to fail. I think he's going to continue to do well every game he plays. So I'm going to have Caleb 1. I probably have Penix Jr. 2, then Sam 3. Then I would say maybe even Quinn Ewers at 4, and maybe even who else? Drake May potentially, and then I got Bo Nix there too, which is surprising, but he's done remarkably well the last little bit. His playoff teams, he's got USC and FSU on the outside, and then the 4 are Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia. I got FSU and Washington on the outside, and then I got Texas, Ohio State, Notre Dame, USC right now. So, hey, that's what I got. Okay, that's the show. You can reach us at haterradio.com for all of our articles. I'll have one up for the UCLA-Utah game on probably Friday, maybe even potentially tomorrow. We'll see. I'll see how I feel tomorrow morning. But look for us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at hater_radio for all of that. For YouTube, for the channel, it is Hater Radio, just that word. You type it in, and it should come right up. And that is like, subscribe, comment, everything you can do for us. Just get into the algorithm, get us out there. We're still new to video, so there's not much content we have, but we're trying to put out more stuff as much as possible as we can, especially with these recap and preview videos that we do Sunday and Wednesday, which is our show at Sunday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, every Sunday and Wednesday. So check that out. And also, that's it. haterradio1@gmail.com. That's our email. Ian socials, I don't remember, so I'll have to ask him next time he's on. But that's the show. Take care, everybody. Enjoy these games. It's going to be a great weekend of college football, and I'm really excited for all this.